Friends, let me tell you something. This is the craziest true crime story we have had in a minute. Let me break it all down for you. Oh, yes, I'm talking about Rudy Farias. So listen, it was reported over the weekend that or maybe the last couple of days, this young man, Rudy Farias, went missing 8 years ago, and he was found alive. Oh, here come the dogs. He was found alive just a couple of days ago. And it's like, oh, hooray, this is wonderful. And then the story started leaking out. Child, there is so much more to this story and so many layers. Every time I got information, I'm like, ooh, breaking news, more Rudy news. I did breaking news an hour and a half ago, and now I have more breaking news on top of that breaking news. So I'm going to make a Rudy playlist so we can put all this mess together. But look, this is what we know so far. Number one, Rudy went missing 8 years ago for 2 days. He ran away from home. He was suffering from anxiety and depression. His brother had been killed in an accident. He saw his brother his brother was on a motorcycle and got hit by a car, and the brother died. Rudy was there with him. Rudy was uninjured, but he was there when his brother died. So he was just like traumatized and all messed up. He was very young when that happened, like 14 or 15 years old, right? Very young, very impressionable, terrible situation. A few years after that, his father died. And so his father unalived himself. And so again, another very traumatic situation. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, this poor kid and his mom, it's just the two of them left. This is so terrible. So Rudy goes out to walk the dogs. He's depressed. He's anxious. He's having all these feelings. And so he runs away from home. The dogs wander back home. Rudy stays gone for 2 days. Only 2 days. Rudy ultimately comes back home after the 2 days because, young boys, he was probably hungry, had to pee, something like that. And his mother convinced him that because he ran away, he was going to be in trouble, and that she would call the police and he would go to jail. Now, he was 17 at the time that happened. So I'm like, maybe Rudy was like a little bit slow or something else was going on. There had to be some other factors at play, because I wish I could tell my 15-year-old anything he would believe. At 17, they basically 1 foot out the door. But Rudy believed his mom. Okay, cool. So, he came back home. His mother was like, well, now you have to hide out in the house, because if the police, I did a missing persons report. If the police find out that you came back, then you're going to be in big trouble. Also, so while she had him hiding in the house, sometimes she had him living out back behind one of the neighbor's house or one of the friend's house. Sometimes he could live there in the house. A lot of the times he lived there in the house. While he was there, she kept him drugged up. She beat him. She tortured him. She abused him. His mental health situation got so bad, he started doing self-harm to himself. And I was like, oh my goodness. Oh, but wait, there's more. So for 8 years, this lady has kept Rudy locked in the house with her. She has a full-time job. When she would go to work, she would take Rudy with her. From time to time, she would let Rudy out and just go hang out with the neighbors. Only she told Rudy, oh, well, now you have to use this other name, and this is your new age, and you can go hang out and be cool or whatever, but never tell anybody that you're Rudy, because both of us gonna get in trouble. Okay, Mom, that's crazy. So a couple of days ago, Rudy had enough. He was sick of the whole thing. He stole his mom's car and sped away from the house, but he's not a good driver, having been locked away for 8 years, and he wrecked the car. He somehow ended up in front of a church. I do not know who found him in front of the church, but he got found. The police got called. The mom was like, no. He just had a little boo-boo. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take him to the hospital. The mother went home, had some kind of crazy behind plan, took him to the hospital and was like, oh, this is Rudy. He's been missing for 8 years. And then she started calling around in the local community to get like community activists on her side so that they would like advocate for her, right? So listen, this woman made a mistake, and she didn't know she made a mistake at the time. She called Gracies Street News. Now, I have never heard of Gracies Street News until today, but Miss Grizzy, she is the ultimate nosy neighbor, and she is on the case. Grizzy will give you news, weather, and traffic all there on Facebook Live. Oh, Grizzy's just driving around in her car, regulating the whole neighborhood and giving you the rundown of what's going on. So Grizzy starts talking to Janie, that's the mom. And so she's like, okay, you could tell me whatever, but I'm going to do my own research. Grizzy is an American hero. So, as this story gets out and they're like, wait, this kid was missing for years and now he's back. Oh, the mom is like, oh, we're going to do a GoFundMe and we're going to do all these things. Netflix has reached out. All these news channels have reached out. And the mother is like, oh, I'm about to give me some money. But the neighbors were like, wait. This kid was never missing. One of the family members was like, I told y'all a long time ago he was never missing, but the police would not pay attention. And Gracie was like, oh, tell me more, child. Gracie was writing down phone numbers. She has recorded phone conversations. She has been all over everything. She's recorded all the information. But the local news stations were like, how does this random lady in the street have all the information and we don't have it? Gracie does a Facebook Live from the Holiday Inn where they're staying because after all this news came out, of course, everybody in the world wants to talk to Rudy. But only Gracie had the exclusive. Gracie was hanging out with Rudy and his mama. And Gracie was like, I'm sitting there like, oh, okay. It was clear to Gracie from day one, something in the milk ain't clean. This mother was making up this story. Rudy would be sitting there fine and she would tell Rudy, okay, lay down and go in the fetal position. So he would lay down and go in the fetal position and act like he couldn't talk. All kinds of craziness. But Gracie was like, he was laying in the backseat of the car with a sheet over his head. And I looked in and he was vaping. And she was like, how he learned to vape if he just got free like 2 days ago from some captors? Something is not right. So Gracie, child, you know it's hot up here. Ooh, Lord, I need summer to be over. So Gracie was like, listen, this is too big for me to handle on my own. So I'm going to call community activist Quanell X. Never heard of Quanell X, but from what I've seen, and just from him having X as a last name, that tells me he's part of the NOI, or likely part of the NOI. That's the Nation of Islam. So Quanell X came, and he is there to regulate the entire situation. I get the feeling that he's like the Al Sharpton of Houston. Quanell is all over the situation. So the cops were like, Miss Janie, where are you at? We need to talk to your child. What is going on? Because, of course, she checked him right out of the hospital. And all the news stations were putting up all these pictures. Here's Rudy now. Here's a recent picture of Rudy. Turns out there are no real recent pictures of Rudy, except for the picture of him with the sheet over his head. There's a picture of a homeless man hanging out in a restaurant who looks about 25, 30, somewhere in there. The people are saying is Rudy. According to Gracie, that is not Rudy. Rudy's picture has not yet been released. Current pictures of Rudy's mom, as of this recording, July 5th, have not yet been released. She's put out a bunch of pictures that don't look like her. She got a bunch of all kinds of fake Facebook posts. She has one Facebook profile, then she make a fake Facebook profile and respond to the first child. It's a mess. She had a bunch of sock puppet accounts. Y'all know what that means. And if you don't, you're going to need to Google because I ain't got time to explain everything today. So anyway, everybody is like, what's going on? All the news stations are like, how come this hood chick has the information and we don't? So Gracie goes on Facebook Live. Well, the news, they are smarter than the average bear. They were like, wait, where is she at? We can't find her. They looked at all the background and the scenery around her, and they looked at the carpet that she was standing on, and they're like, oh, only certain hotels had that carpet. What hotels in this area have this carpet? So they haunted her down to the Holiday Inn where Gracie was there doing her Facebook Live. And while she was doing her Facebook Live, a news lady snuck in behind her into the conference room where Rudy was talking to the police. Rudy was like, I want to be away from my mother. And the mother was like, no. I just want to make sure that Rudy is okay and everything is safe. So Quanell X, the community leader, is like, let me tell you something. I'm here with Rudy. We're going to have a man-to-man conversation, me and him and this nice police officer, and you go sit outside. So Quanell X and Rudy and the police officer stayed in this conference room for an hour and a half and talked, and Rudy spilled the whole situation. Mama's been faking. Mama has been holding him captive for years. Mama has given him drugs and drugs and drugs, lots of hallucinogens. He's addicted to drugs right now. And so Quanell X, after the press conference was over, the mother was like, I got to get in there. She went into the room and they promptly put her behind in handcuffs. I don't know what was said. I don't know what was done, but they then took the handcuffs off of her and said she was free to go. But the police were like, oh, we need to talk to the district attorney and find out what she's going to be charged with, what's what. Quanell X comes out and he's like, listen, I'm not telling all this boy's business, but he has been through a very traumatic situation. He needs intensive drug rehab. He needs psychological counseling. He needs all kinds of counseling. He's had a tremendous amount of trauma. Meanwhile, the mama got to work tonight. She's some sort of security guard. Historically, what she would do is go to work and take Rudy with her and just make him sit there. But she has to go to work tonight, and you can't take a 25-year-old with you, I guess. So she was looking for somebody to babysit Rudy. Ma'am? He's been through trauma, but he is still 25. And she was all excited because all the media is at her door. And ooh, what's going to happen for her now? Because the U.S. Mail and the Daily News and everybody else is following up on her. But specifically, Netflix has already reached out to this mother who was a lying sack of sugar, friends, let me tell you. But Janie was all over it. Janie called Quanell X into the situation, and then Quanell X gave a press conference and he broke it all down. He was like, it's a bad situation. It's an abusive situation. This child has been physically, emotionally, and intimately abused. His mother would make him sleep in the bed with her, unclothed, and she would say, it's daddy time. You have to be the man of the house. It's daddy time. Child, this entire video needs a trigger warning because this is a mess. So where it stands now is that Janie, the mother, has been released from police custody and she has taken young Rudy home with her. What's going to happen now? Oh, you know, I told you what happened when my uncle had the anthrax situation. The media camped out on our doorstep. Now, Grizzy is concerned that Rudy may harm himself or the mom may harm Rudy to keep him from talking. I do not know. The tea is scalding, I tell you. But we don't know what's going to happen next. Certainly, I do not know what's going to happen next. But I'm going to keep it glued right here to Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo. Also, I'm going to keep my other eyeball trained on Grizzy's Hood News. She's over there on Facebook. She does Facebook Live. Grizzy has all the tea. Like, follow, and subscribe to Grizzy. And then me, if you don't have the time to go through Grizzy's 30, 40, 50-minute videos, she has 4 days of uninterrupted footage that nobody else has. She has recorded phone calls. She was talking to these people long before this became a news story because the mom called Grizzy and was like, hey, Grizzy girl, I got a story and I think you can help me with it. But Grizzy is not one to be fooled. Old girl conducted a complete investigation. She is my hero. So I'm hot and sweaty. I need to turn the AC back on, which means I need to turn the sound off of this because, I'm about to burst into flames. But when there is more information, I will let you know. We'll see you then. Bye.